And good morning, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan. I want to update you on Tropical Storm Erin. Erin is getting better organized this morning. It's got that look as it moves over some warm ocean waters that it's really ready to take off. And it does look like it's going to become a hurricane in the next 24 hours. We're going to have some hurricane reconnaissance. The hurricane hunters are going to be out checking out Erin, and we'll have a better idea of the intensity later on today. So let's take a look at what's going on right now. Here is Erin. This is the visible satellite loop. So the first few frames are in darkness because it was dark out, but the sun is out now, so we're able to see. You can see Erin. It looks like it's beginning to strengthen a bit more. Lots of thunderstorm activity near the center of circulation, and the taller and stronger those thunderstorms grow, the better chance Erin has to develop into a more significant storm. And our computer models have increased the possible intensity of Erin, and the National Hurricane Center has followed suit with their forecast. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So in this forecast, we're going to separate fact from fiction. We're going to get rid of the BS, and we're going to talk about where we are confident Erin is going, where are we confident Erin is not going, and we'll also talk about the areas that should be on alert and should be ready for Erin in case it makes any deviation in path, I should say. So I did want to look at this. I showed you this a couple days ago, but I think this is a really cool way of putting the current location of Erin in context with all the other hurricanes and tropical systems we've seen through history. This is from Bob Hart, a professor down at Florida State. And so you can see here, this is the current location of Erin, about 16 degrees north, getting close to 50 degrees west. And so this looks at every system that has passed over this area and what the odds are that it would go on to make landfall in the United States. And it's on the northern side of storms that would typically make it to the U.S. In fact, the odds of a U.S. landfall, just not looking at the weather pattern, just looking at the current location, only about 15 to 20%. Normally, you'd like to see a storm a little farther south, not quite as high with latitude. It gives it a better chance to make it toward the United States. So this one, again, is a little farther north than most systems that would go on to make landfall in the U.S. So that's sort of the climatology. That's just looking at the current picture where the storm is now. Let's take a look at what the weather maps show, because that's going to give us a better idea of where the storm is actually going to go. So we'll take a look at two computer models, just like we've done the last few days. We'll look at the European and the GFS. I think that will help us get a better idea of the exact track moving forward. So here's Erin. Let's go through time. This is, again, the European model. Big ridge of high pressure to the north. This is a block. It is literally forcing Erin to go to the west. So the Erin can't go north into this block. It's forced to go to the west. And you'll see that as it continues toward the Lesser Antilles. But what happens here is that ridge begins to break down. So let me go back in time, and I'm going to forward this, send this forward. So you can see there's the ridge. It's growing a little bit. It's forcing Erin to the west, and then that ridge begins to break down. And that's going to be the opportunity for Erin to come to the north and sort of escape. If it were to continue west, we'd be concerned about places like Florida or South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia. But because this ridge breaks down, you've got an opportunity for the storm to move out to sea, so to pass between North Carolina and Bermuda. And you can really see that here by early next week. This is next Tuesday. And you can see we've got a ridge here to the west, a ridge here to the east, and then that escape hatch in between. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Again, that's what most of our computer models show. Again, this is the European computer model. You can see moving to the west, and then it turns to the north up toward Bermuda. GFS computer model, pretty similar. Same deal. Here's Erin heading toward the Lesser Antilles, passing to the north of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, though it does make a pretty close call. And then as that ridge breaks down, you've got the ridge to the west, the ridge to the east, and you've got that escape hatch to the north, allowing the storm to move through. One thing to watch is that you'd have to make sure that the ridge doesn't try to build back into the north of Erin. And right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And then the storm gets caught up in the jet stream and moves out to sea safely into the North Atlantic. So watch it one more time. And you can see the storm moving west, and then again gradually comes to the north as that weakness in the ridge develops. So that's pretty much what we're thinking. That's what our computer models are showing. This is the spaghetti plot. Each line represents a different computer model solution. Bermuda is right here. If you look closely, it's hard to see. It's a little dot on the map. There's Bermuda. There are the Outer Banks. Here's southern New England. Here's Florida, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Anguilla. The storm again passing to the north of the islands here, passing to the east of the Bahamas and to the east of the Outer Banks. So good news here with the computer models. In terms of the intensity here from those hurricane models, right now, again, tropical storm, but strengthening quickly. And most of our computer models bring this storm up toward Cat 2, Cat 3 by the weekend and early next week. But some of them now beginning to show a stronger system, potentially up to a Category 4 by early next week. So a pretty powerful hurricane seems quite likely as the storm moves across the Atlantic Ocean. So the GFS computer model here, spaghetti plot, same deal. You can see there's Bermuda, there's Cape Hatteras, storm passing between the two. Pretty classic turn to the north and then out to sea. There are still a couple outliers that try to bring the storm farther west. That would happen if we got that ridge to build east and sort of trap the storm underneath. Again, not likely, pretty unlikely, I'd say, but still have to watch it. So, eyes on this system from the Carolinas and the Tidewater, Virginia on south. But again, the model consensus is still to take the storm out to sea. And then here's the European model. So again, the storm coming to the west, north of the islands, north of Puerto Rico, north of Hispaniola, north of the Virgin Islands. And then it gets that turn out to sea. One thing to note, I know some of our viewers in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Southern New England may be wondering, if this thing gets to the west, we have to worry. And it looks like even the computer model solutions that try to bring the system back toward Florida or the Carolinas, or at least closer to the coast, the jet stream is still going to push this thing out to sea. So it may get closer to the southeastern U.S., but it looks like it's still going to get caught in the jet stream and move out to sea into the North Atlantic. So the concern, the farther north you go, is pretty minimal at the moment. So down to the south, across Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, let's take a look at where this storm's going to go. This is the European computer model. Again, there's the system this weekend, likely hurricane by this point. And if you look closely, there's Puerto Rico, there's the U.S., British Virgin Islands, Anguilla's over here, and it will be on the southern side, the southern flank of the storm. That's the weaker side of the storm for sure, but some squally rain, certainly a possibility, some strong gusty winds coming in from the west. So should be a little stormy. I wouldn't cancel any plans if you've got a trip down to the islands or to Puerto Rico, but don't expect some great beach weather, at least for a couple days, at least for Saturday and Sunday as the storm passes on by. You can see again passing well to the north. So the core of the hurricane force winds would be right near the center, but farther south, some squalls on those outer bands of the storm. And the GFS computer model, just to show you that, same deal. Here comes the storm. Here's the hurricane by this point. This is the weekend. And again, there's Puerto Rico, there are the Virgin Islands, and again, well north of those. So the core of the storm, far to the north, but close enough to bring some squalls and some heavier rain from time to time. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and then moving north from there. Bermuda, still a bit of a question. There's Bermuda. Put the cursor right over it. Looks like it's going to be close, but most of our computer models now have come west just enough to keep that to the west of Bermuda, at least the core of the hurricane, the worst of the weather. So Bermuda is certainly worth watching, although Bermuda is they're used to hurricanes and they have very, very strong infrastructure. So storms like this, certainly can be scary, but Bermuda's used to this kind of weather. So down in the islands, let's take a look at the tropical storm force wind probability. So stay on alert because, again, we've got odds of 30 to 50% or so in the northern Leeward Islands over toward Puerto Rico of tropical storm force winds. Those would be winds sustained greater than 39 miles per hour. But when we switch this over to hurricane wind probabilities, very low. Once you get up into the British Virgin Islands, you're looking at about 10 to 20%. So it's not out of the question. You could get a more significant storm, but again, the greater threat for hurricane force winds well to the north of the islands, and then again, curving out to sea. So Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, again, looks like we'll be missing the worst of this one. Fairly close shave, but again, the consensus is to take the storm to the east of there. Then the other issue that's going to begin to develop for the east coast of the United States is going to be some powerful swells from this storm. So this is a look at Tuesday of next week, late Tuesday. The center of Erin will almost certainly be a hurricane by then, down to the south. And I want to, let's see if I can do that. There we go. This is probably a better look at this. This is a look at the swells coming from the center of Erin. This is a look here at Wednesday, and you can see the leading edge of this bigger swells beginning to get to the Rhode Island beaches and out toward Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, Jersey Shore, coastal Delaware, and then certainly the southeastern U.S. By the time we get to Wednesday, we're looking at swell heights getting close to 10, 12 feet on the Outer Banks down through coastal North Carolina and South Carolina. This is going to present a really dangerous rip current threat across the entire east coast of the United States. And the worst of it gets toward the beaches here in southern New England, out toward Long Island by Thursday and Friday. Some really powerful swells making it to the north from what will likely be a big and powerful hurricane by that point. So something to keep in mind if you've got a trip to the beach. Some really, really big waves will be moving in as Erin passes close to Bermuda, between Bermuda and Cape Hatteras. The wind will be strong enough to send these giant swells. These are big, powerful waves. These aren't your typical waves that you get from a gusty day at the beach. These are big, powerful swells from the ocean. So rip currents will be an issue, some dangerous swimming, but some great surfing from Maine all the way down to Florida as Erin passes offshore. So we're going to watch the latest computer model trends with Erin today. Again, expected to strengthen. Some question as to just how far west it gets. We still have a few of those outlier solutions that bring the storm a little close to the east coast of the United States. Odds certainly favor the bulk of the storm being out to sea. Can't rule out some of the more fringe impacts, but we're still looking at 5, 6, 7 days away from the storm making its closest pass to the Carolinas and even down toward the Bahamas. So we'll be watching it closely for you. We'll keep you posted with any new information. Of course, you can find us anytime on Facebook and Twitter and all the places. But keep apprised of the latest developments here with Erin. At least for many places on the East Coast, we're not expecting much impact at all, but besides the big swells and rip currents, but we can't rule out another shift with the track. So we will be keeping you posted every step of the way. Thank you for logging on, and we'll have another update for you tomorrow.